has left the room briefly, so we're going to wait for him to come back, and we're also waiting for Attorney Eric Larson to join us electronically. So welcome to all the members of the public who have attended again, and we'll be with you shortly. Still have to overcome a technical problem. Cody is working on that for us. We appreciate your patience with us on our technical issues. Earlier, at an earlier meeting, someone from the public came up afterwards to let us know that there were times where you could not hear what a speaker was saying, and I appreciated hearing about that, and urge you, if you have difficulty hearing what one of us is saying, raise your hand or something to let us know, and we'll try and remedy the problem by speaking more directly into the microphone, or whatever else we can do to help.
It's coming up. That's good. He's up on the screen. Who's Erlinson? Andrew Erlinson is a city's attorney. Oh,
Hello. Hi.
All right. Again, thank you for your patience. We now have two people attending electronically, and I'm calling calling to order the meeting of the Wausau Ethics Board. It's 3:06 p.m. I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Dexter,
Here.
Hostler,
here.
DeVos,
Here.
Kearns.
Here.
All voting members are present.
Thank you. And also present is Attorney Eric Larson, who's outside counsel advising the board, and Attorney Andrew Erlinson, who is the attorney for the respondent, Mayor Doug Denny. The first item on our agenda is review and discussion of and possible action on the status of proceedings and related developments regarding the pending complaint filed against Mayor Doug Denny. As I'm sure you will recall, the board in April found probable cause to believe a violation of Section 2.03.030, paragraph J of the code had been committed by the respondent. The board ordered a hearing for April 30th at that time. At our last meeting on April 28th, the board discussed a suggestion made by the city attorney that there were at least 4 other witnesses the board had not heard from. The city attorney did not identify those potential witnesses when she made that suggestion. The city attorney also suggested that the hearing be postponed for 120 days, which could potentially provide an opportunity for the attorneys to develop an agreed statement of facts. The board did vote to continue the hearing for 120 days, and it decided to meet again to discuss further orders for investigation that could be issued to other potential witnesses. Although at that time we did not schedule that meeting, the general expectation, at least mine, was that we would meet later in May, and obviously that did not happen. In a related development, on May 27th, the Wisconsin Elections Commission issued a decision on a complaint that was filed by 2 Wausau residents against Clerk Caitlin Bernardi, Deputy Clerk Cody Hart, and Finance Director Marianne Grote. The commission dismissed the complaint, which had alleged that the respondents violated the law and abused their discretion in establishing and using a commingled absentee ballot drop box for the November 2024 election. Also, in the meantime, a proposal was made to the Common Council to authorize hiring outside legal counsel to represent the city and its unelected officials in the matter of the Ethics Board proceedings on the complaint against Mayor Denny. Because the hiring of outside legal counsel for the city could potentially affect our proceedings, I delayed scheduling a meeting for a time to see if developments on that proposal might provide further clarity. On June 2nd, the Common Council approved the proposal to hire outside counsel. The mayor vetoed the measure. The Common Council voted on June 24th to override the veto. An unsigned copy of the Common Council's resolution is included in the board packet for informational purposes. I want to give the board members an opportunity to ask any questions or make any comments on what has happened since the last meeting, if there are any. Seeing none, we can move on to the next item on the agenda, which is discussion of and possible action on orders for investigation regarding the pending complaint filed against Mayor Doug Denny. I see, and maybe you guys might see more, but I see a couple of possible options for how to proceed from here. On the one hand, we could wait till we have clarity on what prospects there might be for an agreed statement of facts before we consider what future orders for investigation we might wish to adopt. Alternatively, we can proceed with further orders for investigation at this time, and set the deadline for responding to the orders for a date that would provide an opportunity for the attorneys to explore the possibility of an agreed statement of facts if they so choose. To get discussion going, I would like to move at this time with the second option, and that is that we proceed with further orders for investigation at this time, at this meeting. Is there a second to that motion?
I would second the motion.
Thank you. Is there discussion on that motion?
Well, I think it's just appropriate to keep moving forward and not wait for something that may not happen.
Exactly, I agree. We want to avoid further delays. We do want to be thorough, but there's no guarantee that we're going to get any breakthrough information in orders to additional witnesses. I mean, we might, but we don't know if we don't ask, but there's no guarantee. There's also no guarantee that there will be an agreed statement of facts, although so far we haven't seen a lot of dispute about the facts as opposed to perhaps the law. Anyone else have anything they want to say? We'll bring the matter to a vote then. All those in favor of the motion, which is that we proceed with further orders for investigation at this time, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hands. And we have unanimous approval of that motion. Then, it seems to me there are two basic parts to developing additional orders for investigation. There is, of course, the content of the orders that we might adopt, but there's also identification of the possible witnesses to whom we might want to direct those orders. And it's a little hard to know exactly what's the best way to proceed, but I think since we didn't have any real idea of who the potential witnesses were at our last meeting at the end of April, it might be worthwhile to at least preliminarily identify who we're talking about, who the city attorney might have been talking about.
That would be helpful.
And I can report on that after discussing it with Attorney Larson. After our last meeting, Attorney Larson was able to identify the potential witnesses the city attorney had in mind. And they were as follows, and you might want to, write down the names of these potential witnesses, because there are enough of them that when we get into talking about particulars, it might be helpful to you. On that list that originated with the city attorney is first Matthew Barnes, the chief of police. The next is Eric Lindman, the director of public works. And these people are pretty much all identified in the respondent's response to the complaint and the other materials that have been provided to the board. After Eric Lindman, we have Leo Gao, the facilities manager,
How do you spell that?
G-A-U. Mary Ann Grote, the finance director.
She's in there.
Gerard Klein, consulting IT director.
Could you slow down just a minute?
Pardon me?
Could you just slow down a second?
Sure.
The Mary Ann Grote,
Grote,
what was
right.
her position?
Finance director.
Finance director. The city clerk is under that, yeah. She's,
And then there's Gerard Klein, K-L-E-I-N,
IT.
IT director. I think Cody Hart is also among those on that list. And I think Brian Mason had done this, and I had done this as well. Beyond that list, if you go through the material that was supplied primarily by the respondent, you'll see a number of other people mentioned in that sworn statement or other parts of what was submitted.
Are these the people, excuse me, are these the people who are part of email?
Use your microphone. Use your microphone.
Okay, thank you. Whereas, are these the people that were mentioned in some of the emails that we got from the respondent?
Both the emails and the mayor's sworn statement.
Okay, right.
So if you
Is
go
your
through-
microphone on, Doug?
I think so, but it doesn't
Looks
sound.
like it is,
There,
yeah.
better, if you talk into it.
Okay. All right. Usually most people think I talk too much.
There's a difference between volume and quantity.
Okay, thank you.
We appreciate them. All right. So yes, that is correct in some of the documents that were submitted to us, as well as in that sworn statement. That's where these other names come up. And among them is someone who wasn't given a name in those materials, but it was an unidentified contractor applying wrap to the box. And I don't know if anybody knows who that person is. Maybe somebody from the clerk's office could identify that contractor. Otherwise, we're obviously not going to be able to send orders to that person, even if we wanted to. There was an Ashley Klein, Kline, who was mentioned, described as someone who worked in customer service in the clerk's office. She was mentioned in the material. Todd Baten, B-A-E-T-E-N, the deputy police chief. Jeremy Kopp, the fire chief. And Justin Pless, that's P-L-U-E-S-S, I apologize if I've pronounced that wrong, the deputy fire chief. And finally, Lisa Rasmussen is mentioned in those materials. She, of course, is the president of the Common Council. We can talk about whether we want to narrow the list down at this point, or we can first look at what we might want to ask. And along those lines, I drafted orders for additional investigation, and they have been included in your packet. Perhaps it would be a good idea to look at that first, and then we can come back to the names of the people and discuss who we might want to send the orders to if we have agreement on the orders. Everybody got it? Got a copy of those, have an opportunity to look at them? All right. I'm going to read it for the benefit of people who don't have it. It's not very long. Possible orders, and I'll make a motion to put this on the table for discussion. It is ordered that the subject provide a statement giving the subject's account of any contacts the subject may have had from September 19th, 2024 through September 29th, 2024, with or from the respondent relating to a box that was or could be deployed as an absentee ballot drop box for the 2024 general election in Wausau. Number 2, it is ordered that the subject provide copies of documentation, if any, including email received by the subject from the respondent or sent to the respondent by the subject from September 19, 2024 through September 29, 2024, relating to a box that was or could be deployed as an absentee ballot drop box for the 2024 general election in Wausau. Following those two orders, and as you can quickly see, the first deals with contacts, discussions, those kinds of things. And the second order deals with documentation, email, letters, whatever. The final paragraph would provide a date for, a deadline rather, for a response. So it says it is further ordered that all documents and statements ordered to be provided shall be filed with the city clerk no later than blank days before the date of this, after the date of this order. Upon receipt, the city clerk shall without delay forward the documents and statements to the complainants, the respondent, and the board. So I would move that we adopt that, those orders and supply, in the course of our work on that, supply a deadline for response. Is there a second to that motion?
I would second.
Thank you. Discussion,
Well,
thoughts? Doug?
better do this.
Yep.
Okay, see if I'm being heard again. Okay, now okay. I'm a little puzzled because suppose I'm one of these people and I really had no statement to provide except I had no statement to provide, and I have no documentation. But the first one would be on that I really had no accountant, I might have dealt with the mayor, but I had no contact with them dealing with the ballot box or the drop box. So what would I do in that case if I'm one of those?
You would provide a response saying you had no contact with the mayor, nor did you, during that time period, nor do you have any documentation of anything like
And
that.
then that's, I could do that.
You could do that, right?
Okay.
It would be pretty simple, probably wouldn't need a lawyer for it.
And I
Yeah,
think,
that'd be good, but yeah, as long as that's an option, because I can see someone being put on the list that really doesn't belong there.
well, and I think that there's value to both the statements pertaining to the conversations that were had and the documentation, because I think in the response, there were there was some discourse on conversations that were had that may not have been documented. And I think in order to corroborate or deny the perspectives on that, it would be nice to have the statements from each of these individuals on what their take on that communication was, especially in cases where it was not documented.
Good point.
I guess I'm just wondering about the scope of the question where it's just very specific to conversations or contacts with or from the respondent. You know, I'm just thinking through some of the material or your point about the contractor, I assume didn't have any contacts with the mayor, you know, regarding the wrap.
I think the mayor's sworn statement
Had a discussion with
indicates
the,
that, yeah, the mayor noted that a contractor was out there doing something, and there was a brief discussion.
oh, okay,
That's how I kind of went through to identify who
okay.
might.
With people who had alleged to have specific contacts with,
Yeah.
That was my understanding of that as well, that the contractor was approached in order to kind of get clarity on what they were doing.
Right, right. So just, it's quite possible we'll get back responses that just confirm what we've heard from the respondent.
Good there.
We have Attorney Larson, you have a question or comment?
Well, I just have a comment, which is, remember that we are going to schedule a hearing, and we are going to have testimony and cross-examination at a hearing. And we shouldn't assume that we're trying to, in gathering this evidence, substitute that for a hearing. So that doesn't change anything you're doing. But except possibly when you're thinking about what you should ask and who you should ask, remember that this is not going to be testimony that's at the hearing. We're still going to have a hearing. And that's where we're going to have the evidence that we rely on in making our decision.
Wouldn't this
point.
be an effective way to prepare the individuals that will be at the hearing? Kind of, it gives them an opportunity to tell us what their experiences were with this, and then also their responses would give us, I guess, insight into asking the proper questions at the time of hearing, I guess, in my opinion.
That and even whether some of these people would even be called as witnesses at the hearing. So, yeah, and Attorney Larson has helped keep us focusing on this in context, which I think is important. This is not going to be a substitution for a hearing. We're not going to try and get every ounce of every question that we want answered. We're just asking about, okay, what contacts were there and what documentation is there during this relatively narrow period of time? Other discussion on,
Oh, that was a helpful remark from
yes.
because I began confusing those two.
Yeah, I think that is very helpful and appreciate that. The chair would entertain a motion for a deadline for responses that we can fill into that final paragraph. That could be a motion to amend the primary motion on the floor to fill in that blank that's on that response paragraph. And I think we'd want to go at least a couple of weeks. That would be my suggestion anyway. It would give time for the attorney who is representing the city and the, well, all of the attorneys, any of the attorneys, to have an opportunity to at least check with each other to talk about the possibility that there might be room for some kind of an agreement on facts. Don't want to let it languish for too long, because if they're not going to agree, they're not going to agree, and we want to continue to move ahead. So had been thinking before this meeting of about a couple of weeks. Jesse, you indicated you're going to be leaving on a trip.
Yeah, I'll be out of country until the 18th of July as of the 3rd. I also think that we need to, in lieu of the holiday that's going to be coming up, people may not be even receiving this information in a way that 2 weeks, it may end up being something along the lines of 3 weeks at that point. So I think we need to be conscious of that as well.
What day of the week is the 18th when you're going to be back?
So I get back on a Friday or Saturday, depending upon,
We might be looking at the following week.
yep. So the
Robin.
21st, I'll be back in Wausau and operational for sure.
Well, I would move to amend your proposed order to say 21 days.
Yes, okay, there's been a motion to amend the order to supply a date 21 days after the date that the order is signed. Is that what you had in mind? Or 21 days from now?
Yes, I would, it was just 21 days after the date of this order.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
Second that
Doug has seconded it?
discussion.
I think 3 weeks would be sufficient. I mean, it's summer, but 30 days feels like it's pushing it out too long. So a period of 3 weeks does seem, to me, a happy medium.
And in light of Jesse's absence, it couldn't be any earlier than that, so,
Right, there would be no scheduling conflicts with the committee either at that point.
right. How does, well, we can come to that later, but I would agree that would be a good time frame. But we better vote on the motion. All those, unless there's further discussion, seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment to make the response deadline 21 days following the date the order is signed, please signify by raising your hands.
And we're actually voting on the entire order at this time to,
Just the amendment.
okay, yes.
Right. That's unanimous. I'm guessing we can probably move on to the, well, if we could identify who the subjects of this order are going to be. I think that could be another amendment. I had some thoughts on it. I don't know if you guys, anybody else kind of identify who you think would be appropriate as a subject to receive an order like this from those lists? I mean, I guess we're talking about whether we want to hone down the list and not include everybody that's,
Well, I think casting a wide net is more appropriate so that at the hearing, our list is honed down for any eventual hearing on this matter.
Yeah, in light of the comment made earlier, these people may not have had any exchanges. They may not have any information for us, but I would rather send it to all the potential witnesses to get their feedback on it than to selectively choose some and then maybe leave out someone who may have information for us that we are not asking.
Doug, thoughts?
Same thing. Same thing, because I'm thinking of the people that I saw in the complainants, statement.
Lean into your mic.
What?
Lean into your mic.
Make love to your mic.
Oh, darn it. Maybe I don't want to be heard. I get in trouble. No, I guess I was thinking that it's, again, I like the wider net idea of just asking all this, and then we're done with that.
Right.
And then from that, we select. And it does include those people that are mentioned in the complainant's file that we were given. That were usually was an email exchanges is what I remember. As long as they're in there too, along with that, that's fine.
Yeah. I'm just thinking back even to our last complaint that we were analyzing and heard, and how we sent, we cast that net out pretty wide, and maybe there's a lot of people that don't have information, and that's fine.
Yeah, I have a little different approach to it.
Okay.
I think that when it comes to Marianne Grote or Cody, we're likely to get if anything, the exact same response that we got from the clerk to our initial orders. I don't think they're going to be willing to go any farther than Caitlin Bernardi went. with
Wouldn't
her.
we want that as a response, though, in order to just kind of affirm at that point?
I don't see that it would hurt anything, but to make this. The other thing is I know that the mayor's sworn statement said that he spoke with the chief of police, and then he mentions that at some point after that discussion with the chief, I think he called him, he then had Chief Barnes and the deputy chief and the fire chief and the deputy fire chief in his office, but he doesn't really say that he discussed the matter with them, if I'm remembering this correctly. So it seemed to me like that would be sending orders to a bunch of people some of whom probably had no idea what this was about.
It was my understanding from the response that they were contacted in order to inform them that the box had been removed. So I guess that may be relevant, being that there was, like, in that point, there was, obviously someone had intended to let people know that something had occurred. So it may be of value.
We should probably have a motion then that we include all the people on these lists that have been identified. And are you making that motion
I would
now?
make a motion to
So-
include everyone on the current potential witness list that we've just spoken to.
So we've got a motion to amend the original motion to require that this order be sent to all of the people on the list that we've identified here at this meeting. Is there a second to that motion?
I would second, so
Okay,
we
it's
can
been
continue
moved and
discussion.
seconded. Any other discussion? We can call this to a vote. All those in favor of the motion to amend to include...
Just one comment, real quick.
Sure.
So I have listed, how many people do you have on your list?
Let me count them up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've got a dozen if we include the unidentified contractor.
Okay. That's enough.
I have a dozen, including the contractor as well.
So before we vote on that, just a little discussion. Are we just asking informally to figure out who the contractor is? Can we do that from the clerk's office?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if we can. We can maybe ask Cody at this point. Do you think you might be able to identify who that contractor is?
We can certainly try.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Well, with that understanding, I just don't want to,
Right, right. If we don't have a name and we don't get a name, it'll only go to the 11, obviously.
I suppose we could always do an opens records request if we couldn't get
We'll try and keep this simple.
it. Okay.
To provide more context to that, I mean, we have to have some sort of purchase order with that contractor, so that is available somewhere.
It would be documentation, right. Any other discussion or questions on this? All right, all those in favor of the amendment to add this list of names to the order as the recipients of the orders, signify by raising your hand. All opposed? It's 3-1. All right, thank you.
So the motion carried.
Motion carries. Oh, yeah, right. 3-1 motion carries, not 3-1 defeated. All right. Then I think that brings us to our final agenda item, which is discussion of and possible action on scheduling regarding the pending complaint filed against Mayor Doug Dinny. We've already dealt with deadline.
So,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I think we've amended the motion, but have we acted on the main motion?
Thank you, thank you. We've amended it, we actually amended it twice, but we haven't voted on the main motion as amended. Thank you very much. All right, any more discussion on the matter, or are we ready to vote on that main motion as amended? All right, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. And it's unanimous, it's approved. Thanks again, I appreciate that. All right, so now we're getting to scheduling, scheduling the next board meeting. I think that we'd like to have that meeting as soon after we get the responses back from the subjects of this further investigation. So we've got we don't know exactly what date that's going to be yet until we get it sent out to people. Where I'm hoping that tomorrow we can do that, Cody, we can get together and have that ready to go out. I will email to you and to Attorney Larson the motion as amended that passed, and hopefully have it in final form, and if not, make any corrections. I was planning on leaving town early tomorrow morning, but I'm going to stick around and make sure we get this done. I hate to do it if you're going to be stuck in a meeting somewhere and can't help with it. Do you have some time tomorrow morning?
I mean, my time is dependent on if Attorney Larson is available to draft all of this, so.
Yeah, I've actually got all the language for it, and so I was thinking I would provide the order in what should be its final form, but I would send a copy out to Attorney Larson as well. I don't think there's a lot of haziness about what's going to be in this. Are you comfortable with that, Attorney Larson?
I am. It's already written and distributed. It just needs to have the names added and some format
The
work
deadline?
done and signature line. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I am comfortable with that.
okay, thank you. You think that's feasible for us to get taken care of tomorrow morning?
To be clear, who is drafting that? Is that you? Okay.
I'm drafting it, yes. All right. So then, we were talking about when to schedule our next meeting. It's, if we get the order out tomorrow, and we're going to go 21 days for a response after the first, that's like the 22nd. If we could, and you, okay,
When is our 120 days up? What is that calculated
talk
to?
about that next. But
Well, I'm
that's
just,
August 26th,
okay.
yeah.
So the August 4th is the Monday after, so the first falls on a Friday, August 1st. And I was just thinking about that 3 weeks, give or take, that would be putting us at like July 21st, give or take, to get everything back. If we took a week with that information, we would be looking at
The week of August 4th?
week of August 4th.
Okay. We have to keep in mind that there are, and we'll be talking about this when we talk about actually putting a date for the hearing, but there needs to be a certain amount of time between that meeting we have, our next meeting, and the hearing date for, basically, I don't want to call it a trial, but kind of like pretrial activities. And that's something that Attorney Larson has advised me he feels is important for us to have some kind of a scheduling order, or he would advise that we have some kind of a scheduling order that sets deadlines for certain things to happen. And I asked him to try to work up some kind of a proposal for us to discuss at our next meeting for that purpose.
So should we look at maybe the week of the July 28th then? To move it up a little bit?
Yeah, I think we could, I would favor that.
Sure.
I don't know if that's a problem for any of the rest of you.
As long as we get it, if we get everything back within 21 days, that would give us 7 days with the material that we have in order to have a meeting and then discuss possible action on the hearing.
Okay. Does someone have a suggestion for a specific date then? Jesse, you're on top of that calendar. Maybe you could help
I
out.
am.
How about, oh, you got one?
Or,
Well, I would say Tuesday or Thursday would be better for me. That would be the 29th or the 31st.
I could do Tuesday, the 29th in the afternoon.
do we have a problem with holding a meeting on a Tuesday because of the Common Council?
Council does not meet on that day, so.
Great.
Cool, yeah.
The chamber is open on the 29th all afternoon.
And if we could push it to 4 p.m. or later than that, that'd be better for me.
Yeah,
I'd prefer earlier.
that would all
but
work
that's
for
okay.
me.
It's
I was
okay.
meeting
I
halfway in the
can,
middle. I was going to push past 4, but I was like, 4 is like as late as I'm sure you're going to go.
29th, July 29th, 4 PM.
Sorry, Robin.
no, that's okay.
Cody, are we all right with that date as far as?
Yeah, if
you-
we have consensus here, you wouldn't have to take a motion. I could just schedule that when, I could just schedule that and put out because I wouldn't have to put out a poll
Yep.
for quorum. I would just schedule that then.
Wonderful, thank you, appreciate that. Okay, we're set on that,
So what time again?
4 PM.
4 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you,
I just wrote it down.
And then,
29th of July. A Tuesday. Okay.
all right. And then we talked about the fact that we had voted at our last meeting to continue the hearing for 120 days, but we never actually set a date. And it seems like it would be a good idea for us to actually set a date. By my calculations, and I don't suggest that my calculations are always infallible, but I counted it out to August 26th, which is a Tuesday. And we might consider actually scheduling a hearing date to be August 25th, which is a Monday, to help ensure we don't run into any issues with the council meetings on Tuesdays? Or is that not,
I am checking.
okay.
And then for the timing on the hearing, just because we may have many people with many schedules, are we going to try and do that post-workday on Monday, or are we going to try and schedule it for something? Are you talking about the hearing being had on the 25th?
Right, actually setting a date and time for the hearing.
So would we have to take, in light of the fact that we may have some respondents that are going to be working at City Hall, do we need to look at the timeline to be like after their workday? So we're not
Oh.
taking away from their workday for the city.
I would also ask the attorneys to look at their schedule because I know how attorneys' schedules can be as well.
Yeah, good point, good point.
So I think our scheduling order that you mentioned, Mr. Chairman, is going to be relevant to this. And I would like to have an opportunity to speak with council. And obviously the complainants are key to this, but they're unrepresented. I think we should have a completion deadline for discovery, if there's going to be any discovery. And we should have a motions deadline. I don't know if we're going to be getting motions. We may have discovery-related motions, but we also may have substantive motions because there are legal issues that surround this this matter, and we may be getting some motions related to the legal framework. At least I'd like to have that conversation with council, and I have not at this point. And if there are going to be motions, we should have a motion deadline by which the motions have to be made, and then we should have a deadline for when the responses to those motions are given. And then we need a date to rule on those motions, which likely, in all likelihood, would be before the hearing. So I think we can have a tentative hearing date, but to say this is going to be the date, I don't know that it's going to fit. Depending on how all of these other days are scheduled.
So this may take us beyond August 26th, it sounds like, just by necessity.
Well, It might. I mean, but I think we should have a date that we're going to hold the hearing on that date unless everybody agrees that it gets pushed back. And it should be roughly the 120 days that we talked about. So I am available on the 25th,
You're available on which date?
August 25th
25th? All right.
and 26th.
Or 26th. I guess I would move then that we name August 26th as a tentative date for a hearing, and we will look forward to hearing from Attorney Larson. Yes, Cody?
And I will stop you there because there is a council meeting on that date. So I would say that that's a very bad date to schedule a hearing.
The 25th is the Monday.
Yeah, let's go with the 25th rather than the 26th then. That would be my suggestion anyway. And I think we would need to vote on that. But I think a lot's going to, we'll be aided a great deal by hearing from Attorney Larson at our next meeting at the end of July. So I move that we name as a tentative date for a hearing August 25th, Monday, the 25th. And is there a second to that motion? Doug has seconded.
Now we can have discussion. We don't necessarily have a time of day.
Doug?
We just pick a
Talk
date.
into the mic.
Okay, I keep turning my head, sorry. If we pick a date, we're not necessarily picking a time in that date. We're just picking that date. Is that correct? Sometime on the 25th, but
Yeah.
we're not taking a particular time.
Per my comments earlier, I think we probably have to assess the best outcome for whoever we're going to ask to show up and be conscious of their schedules. I mean, if we're going to subpoena individuals and we're going to force them to be present in some, force is the wrong word, but if we're going to ask that they're present, I think maybe being conscious of their workday, maybe.
Right.
I am free the whole day, so I will just tentatively pencil it on, and I'm fine with proceeding with just penciling it on that is a potential date. I don't know if Cody wants a little bit more specific, though.
For the date, the chamber is available all day except for the early morning. So I'd say the chamber is available anytime after 10 a.m.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, at this time, I guess I don't want to name a particular time. We do have another meeting coming up at the end of this month, and I think we'll have greater information from Attorney Larson about scheduling order recommendations. At that time, we should set a particular date if it looks like the hearing will take place on the 25th.
No, that's good. I mean, I seconded it, hoping for that response.
Okay,
Very good, thank you.
okay. Are we ready to vote on that?
This again.
All right. All those in favor of naming August 25th, Monday, August 25th, as a tentative hearing date, signify by raising your hand. And that carries unanimously. Anyone on the board have anything else to bring up at this time? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Been moved by Doug Hostler,
I will second.
second by Robin DeVos. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. We are adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.